deep in the heart of Texas.
We're in the business of winning.
Don't bet against me.
I don't bet anyway.
Don't lose your life.
All right, I want to do a little film room here. You guys know I love doing film room. I haven't quite done one this year, but the Mavs have struggled here as of late. They've been a little banged up too, Lively and Maxey, and Luka's now a little banged up as well. I just made that last video sort of catching up with the Mavs and giving my thoughts about how we were doing. And I gave Kidd a lot of credit, right? I thought Kidd had been a lot better with his timeout so far this year. He had shown me a couple different wrinkles in the offense. And then they go out literally that night or the next night. They play the Lakers. We barely got away with a win. Kidd doesn't call a timeout until it's way too late in the fourth quarter. No adjustments, no creativity, and I'm essentially back to square one with Jason Kidd now. I've been a big doubter, a bit of a hater on Jason Kidd. Not that I want to be. He does some things well that I like, others not so much. You guys, if you follow my channel, you know what those are. So I'm kind of back to square one with Jason Kidd. And, when it comes to these film rooms, right? As Luka goes, the Mavericks go, right? So a lot of my film rooms are going to be centered around Luka. How do we use him? How do we be efficient with him? How do we put him in the best spots possible to be the playmaker that he is, correct? And I got the second New Orleans game pulled up right here. This is probably Luka's worst game since his rookie year or something, right? Only had about 16 points. Didn't really show up in the rebound or assist column. Bad shooting night statistically, right? So I kind of wanted to go over some things, right? Like, we need to start putting guys in positions to make plays where they can. I brought this up a lot in last year, right? Your job as a coach is to put your players in the best spot possible for them to, as he said in the 40-Year-Old Virgin, right? You need to highlight your attributes.
This is embarrassing for me. This is hard to talk about.
Are you ready for my honest answer?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you're a good-looking cat. I don't think that anybody knows it, and I don't think anybody can see it. You think this was an accident? All of this right here? Premeditated, partner. You gotta highlight your attributes. You're like a diamond in the rough. You willing to make some sacrifices?
Absolutely.
You need to put guys in the best spots where their traits and the things that they are good at are second nature, right? They are not put in a sort of fish out of water, an unnatural position that they're not used to, right? You wouldn't have Shaq bring up the ball. You wouldn't have Allen Iverson play in the post, just to dumb it down and understand what I'm trying to say, right? Going forward with the film room, we're going to focus on Luka essentially, right? As Luka goes, the Mavs go for the most part, right? Our roster, I think, is much better. So that is not so much the case as it was last year, but it still is the common denominator is that as Luka goes, we go. So that being said, I in this New Orleans game, and lately, correct? I mean, really since this New Orleans game, the Mavericks have struggled, right? And there's a few reasons for that and a few things I want to touch on, right? So in that last one, catching up with the Mavs, I didn't go into... I showed a few plays and a few things that I would like for the Mavericks to do to help Luka, right? And the main thing that pops out at me in this New Orleans game is Luka having to force the ball up the floor. I understand Luka is a point guard at heart, right? I understand that's his natural position. The thing about Luka, though, is he is much more of a half-court point guard than, let's just say, an up-and-down player, right? He's not the most athletic. He's not the most fleet of foot. Everyone knows that, correct? And for the love of God, I do not understand why you would have Luka bring the ball up, getting hounded 94 feet, having a guy essentially on his hip the whole way, when you have someone like Kyrie Irving, who you can just give the ball to, and if someone would like to pick Kyrie Irving up full court, peace be with you, but I don't think that's a good idea. And I feel much better about giving Kyrie the ball to bring it up the court when a team is trying to pressure Luka, correct? And that being said, if they still want to try and pressure Kyrie has the ability to turn the corner and just go all the way and leave his defender behind him, and essentially we have a 4-on-5, right? Luka doesn't have that ability. Luka protects the ball, yes. He's smart with the ball, yes. But again, you as a coach, sort of the second layer to putting your players in the best position is to take as much pressure off them as possible. Now, we're in the NBA, right? There'll always be pressure. Shots will have to be hit. Defensive clamps will have to be had at some point, right? The pressure will be on you eventually. That doesn't mean that you can't do things to ease some of the pressure, right? And what would be really nice going forward, I don't mind Luka bringing up the ball, right? But as soon as teams are going to ride Luka, they are going to try and wear him down. An 82-game season, right? 4 quarters, 94 feet. Luka is not a guy who is going to shake you down and get around you and turn it up north and south, right? And even if he does get around you, most NBA guards who are guarding him will catch up very quickly, right? So that was the first thing watching this New Orleans game is, why can we not have Kyrie bring the ball up and tell Luka, take your time coming up the floor, right? There's really no need to have Luka have to do all this extra work to simply bring the ball up, correct? And also, it would be nice to get Luka in spots with his dribble still intact, right? One of the things about bringing the ball up is you obviously you can't pick your dribble up, but it's one more thing that you sort of don't have in your toolbox. If you're already dribbling up the floor, you don't have the ability to have the dribble be a threat, if that makes sense, right? Sort of the triple threat, if you want to go back to that rudimentary way of thinking about basketball and attacking the basket or a defense. You don't have your dribble, correct? So it'd be nice to get Luka the ball, extended post, at the elbow, maybe even on the block itself, or even the pin post, top of the key, with his dribble still intact. All options available to him, right? And let Kyrie bring the ball up the floor. No one is going to pressure Kyrie 94 feet, right? They're going to pick him up at half court, if anything, if not the three-point line, correct? Let Kyrie bring the ball up. And I understand Luka is your star player. Luka is technically your starting point guard. But, Kyrie is a point guard too. Like, he is a point guard, nothing else. Luka can do a few other things that Kyrie can't, right? Posting up, is passing, I think, in a half-court offense is a little better. I think he's obviously a better 3-level scorer than Kyrie is overall. So that's that, right? Now, the second layer of that, right? I think giving Kyrie the ball is just an easy thing to take pressure off of Luka. Luka doesn't feel like he has to do anything or do everything. Let him take his time, save his energy getting into the half court and getting in the spot wherever we want him, and let's run our offense then, right? I don't understand why they force Luka, bringing the ball up, especially like on an inbounds. Again, if Luka gets the rebound and he wants to go, as your star player, he gets to make that decision, and I'm more okay with that than when it goes out of bounds or another team scores on our baseline and we're coming the other way. And you can just tell they're putting their smallest, quickest guy on Luka to hound him the entire court. Just give the ball up. Just give it to Kyrie and let Luka take his time and save his energy. And I think what a lot of people don't know is, taking pressure off of your player physically and mentally, right? If it's one less thing Luka doesn't have to think about or worry about, that is, again, that is one more positive marker in the pro column that we want, right? Luka, all right, they're hounding me. Kyrie, just you take the ball. You take it up. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go get in my spot and start thinking about our next half-court set. So that's that, right? With the all eyes on Luka sort of mentality that we are just going to continue to see, right? And it starts with the bringing the ball up 94 feet. It's 94 feet, right? I'm not being totally silly on that, am I? It's either 94 or 92. $94 feet, yeah. Yeah, see, I know my stuff. I'm doubting myself. So don't let Luka feel he has to do that extra work. The next layer of that is Luka is going to get double teamed, and this right now is my biggest pet peeve. As a coach, if I was coaching Luka and a team wanted to come double him, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I would absolutely have plays ready, drawn up to absolutely slice and dice a defense, right? I don't understand why Jason Kidd or anyone on that sideline cannot simply have a set certain cues guys are ready for when Luka gets doubled. And how Luka gets doubled is also important, correct? And I've talked about before how they run a lot of pick and rolls with Luka, correct? And we need to get away from that, I think. And my main point to that is this. You get Luka, you get Kyrie to bring the ball up, or you get Luka off the ball, whichever, right? Just, if this is what we're going to do, take some of the ball handling responsibilities and pressure off of Luka, correct? Again, Luka is a half-court wizard. It is okay if he does not bring the ball up. Does that make sense? Like, it's sort of like Larry Bird in a way, right? An absolute half-court just, alpha, right? Like, he, in the half-court, there was maybe no one scarier. He's top 5 half-court player in my mind of all time, right? And a lot of guys would probably tell you the same, right? Full court, maybe he gets lost a little bit. It's not that he can't make plays in the full court, like Luka can't make plays in the full court, but is that his strong suit? Like, do we want to force Larry bringing the ball up full court? No. We just want to get the ball in his hands full court. You could even bring up a Dirk. I know Dirk doesn't fit the point guard role like Luka does, but again, we don't need Dirk to bring up the ball. We need Dirk to get in a spot to run our offense through. That's what we're trying to do with Luka here. And the thing is, why it's so frustrating is you arguably have a top 5 point guard in terms of handles and elusiveness in Kyrie, and you went to go get him to help Luka, and they can't even use him for some of his strongest suits, right? Some of the things that Kyrie Irving is absolutely one of the best at in the league, and they can't simply just offload some of that pressure onto Kyrie to do that, right? That's why it's frustrating. It's not as if we went out and got a center, right? And we're like, well, who else is going to bring the ball up? We literally went out and got one of the best point guards in the league, right? Specifically in terms of handles, taking care of the ball, being elusive. No one's doubling Kyrie Irving, right? No one's going to double Kyrie Irving. That's just the long and short of it, right? It would have to be, you'd have to set some of the best traps, in terms of trying to trap Kyrie play in, play out. I got money on Kyrie to break that. You're not gonna contain him, right? Luka can be contained. He definitely can be contained. He is not the most fleet of foot, correct? We run a lot of pick and rolls with Luka, and I mentioned this in the last video. Running a pick and roll with Luka invites the double team to Luka. And there is a difference, right? We get Luka off ball. Let's say we get Luka like extended elbow, extended post, right? Somewhere kind of out in that 20, 25 foot area, correct? We let him get set. They're not going to double team him off the ball, correct? Almost nobody is that good. I don't quite know if anybody's quite been double teamed off the ball in the NBA. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone could correct me, but in terms of a defense just straight up doubling someone off the ball because they're that good, I don't think that's, unless it's a post player, that might be a little more plausible. But someone like Luka or even an MJ, like, no one is running out 20 feet to just simply double team him and play 3-on-4 with the rest of the guys on the floor, right? You get Luka, let's just call it extended post or the elbow, something like that when going forward, correct? Again, I talked about this in the last video. Having the ball and having a pick come to you in which the defense is ready to spring a trap is much harder to get out of than if we dump the ball to Luka, let's say, baseline, extended post, something like that. Again, he's going to be one-on-one, and we're going to be able to get him the ball. I mean, Luka is big enough, essentially. He can post someone up. He can get the ball. I'm not worried about that at all. And if that happens, right, we get Luka the ball in spots in the half court, correct? If they want to then come double, it is an entirely different ball game, right? That gives you a second or two to react. You can see it coming. Passes are much easier to see, especially for someone like Luka who's 6'9". That is what I would like to see in terms. I keep talking about wrinkles and creativity. This is the most basic adjustment that I think the Mavericks can make. Get Luka off ball, get the pressure off of him bringing the floor up, have him ready in spots, and get him the ball. This is what Carlisle was so good at with Dirk. He'd get Dirk the ball in the pin post, and Dirk at 7 feet, if you want to come out and run a double team at Dirk, 15, 20 feet away from the basket, it is an easy pass for Dirk. He knows, he sees where the double's coming. Are you going to shift? Okay, you shift. That means this guy's open. Are you going to shift? Okay, that means this guy's open. It is so easy for someone like that to see a double coming from 10 feet away and know what to do with the ball. And Luka is, 10 times better passer than Dirk ever was, correct? I think Dirk's underrated in terms of passing out of the double team. It's something I never thought he got enough credit for. But again, being a 7-footer 20 feet away from the basket and a double team comes, that's easy. That's child's play to someone like that. It'd be even more so for someone like Luka, correct? You get Luka off the ball, you get him to post up, or you get him, extended post, extended elbow, top of the key even, with his dribble. You let him start going to work, or you see what the defense... Again, also, as he's not having to bring the ball up, he can look at the defense. What are they doing? Who do I catch looking at me on the offside, who I can tell, is paying attention to me, who's not the guy guarding me, right? It gives an entire different perspective to Luka and lets him worry about other things and just simply having to have the ball in his hands and constantly make plays, which I think is where Luka gets frustrated. So far, Luka's been in a better, I think, mood this year because it does feel like the guys around him are doing more this year, and they are, and that's good for Luka's psyche. However, as the year goes on, and they want to keep running this pick and roll with Luka like we did last year, we're going to get stuck. Guys are going to queue up on us. Again, the margin of returns on a defense, or the amount of times you can fool a defense, shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. This is the NBA. So they see you do something once, twice, 3 times. You can't keep fooling a defense or getting away with the same thing. I don't care how good you are, right? And if Luka's going to be the focal point, that is more wear and tear throughout a game or the season, correct? I think getting Luka off ball would also be good for Luka's psyche. One less thing for him to do. Let's get him in spots and let him read the defense. He can hold the ball for a second when he gets it, and he can see what's going on, correct? That's the first adjustment I would like to see the Mavs make. Now, if there's something in the locker room going on and Luka doesn't want to give the ball up, I don't know what to say about that, right? That's a tough situation. I don't think that's the situation, though. I think Luka, if told this is what we're doing because we think it'll be best for you, I think Luka would wholeheartedly do it. And the fact that, we're not giving the ball to Josh Green to bring it up. We're not asking Tim Hardaway to bring it up. We're asking Kyrie Irving, right? Like, if you're not going to trust Kyrie Irving, then, that says a lot more about Luka, I think, than if the coaches brought it to him and he didn't want to do it. So that's the first thing I would like to see. I would like to see Luka get off ball, get him the ball in space with his dribble, a bit of an ISO, right? Let him go to work. And if someone wants to run a double team at him that way, I have all the faith that Luka will make the right pass 9 times out of 10. And I think he can even get more creative. I think even more things would open up, correct? That's my thought, right? Almost like we used to do with Dirk. Get Dirk the ball in his spot. He will make the right play, right? And I have all the faith that Luka will too. That being said, I want to look at some plays here where, so early in this New Orleans game, right? Luka's already had a couple bad turnovers. They're hounding him the whole way. He had a guy come up behind him and steal the ball. They keep running the pick and roll at the top of the key. It's getting real clustered at the top. Not a lot of room. Things are getting jumbled. It's just totally throwing Luka out of sync, right? So that's just, that's what I've seen early on in this New Orleans game. But Something with the pick and roll that I saw in this game, I wanted to see or kind of bring up in terms of why I think we need to get away with the pick and roll from Luka. We have to get away. I'm not saying we can't run it. I'm just saying we run it too much. And we need to get Luka off the ball, as I mentioned earlier. And I think just repetitively running the pick and roll, which is so infuriating, right? I was feeling so good about Jason Kidd just a couple days ago, and the Laker game happened. We've dropped a few here, and it's just back to this redundant, we're just going to pick and roll Luka to death and just hope he can just carry us to a victory, right? Luka's not getting any help, I think, from the creativity side of the coaches. So this is another sort of example I want to bring up.
At home.
All right, so again, the pick and roll's coming, correct, as always, right? Again, this is, I'm not sure if Kyrie's in right now. I think he is. But, Kyrie should bring the ball up. Let Luka get the ball over here, and you let Luka get a back screen or a mismatch. Let the defense switch and let Luka get a mismatch that way. Let him get a big man out on him and then get the ball. Let him get a small guy on him and then get the ball, right? So Luka's bringing the ball up. Again, I brought up this earlier, right? If you could pick a place for Luka to be double teamed, if you're the Mavericks, right? You would want Luka to get double teamed here, kind of at the bottom of the logo, right? Bottom of the tip circle. And why? He can go left, he can go right. The half court is his oyster, right? For whatever reason, and I've said this a million times, the Mavericks keep letting Luka get double teamed on one side of the floor or not. You then have the sideline working against you, correct? I don't understand this. I don't know why they keep doing this. It is infuriating as hell, and they do it constantly, and we keep getting in trouble, correct? Again, and this is just, like, it just looks bad, right?
This is 6 first quarter Dallas turnovers.
So again, they're going to shade Luka always.
The Pelicans have cashed into the...
And you have to realize, right, we're talking about the NBA, right? The average guy guarding Luka is going to be 6'6" minimum, athletic. He's going to be running into guys who are 7 feet, right? Who are going to be shading him a lot of the time.
The tune of 9 points. Luka inside, blocked by Valanciunas.
And I've brought this up several times why. So we have 3 Mavericks over here, and they're completely useless.
This is 6 first quarter Dallas turnovers.
What you're going to have here is two guys are going to be able to guard 3.
And the Pelicans
Help comes.
have cashed in.
Dwight Powell doesn't, what are we doing? Is this really the play where, okay, they've shaded Luka. What do we do? What is the cue when they start to shade Luka on a pick and roll and they're going to double him? Everyone is just watching Luka, either hoping for a pass or maybe just thinking about the rebound, right? And this is not a good decision by Luka. And Powell needs to give him a little more room here. This area right here, from the top of the key to the free throw line, is where someone always has to be in order to help Luka break a double team. And most of the time, they are just not there.
Into the tune of...
I think Powell gets a little too much down here. That's a little bit of a hard pass. I would say a step or two back would be a little better.
9 points.
And, he's taking it into 3 defenders, right? And this just goes to show you that I don't think we have no idea what to do on a double team.
Luka inside.
That is an easy defensive possession.
Valanciunas.
And Luka has already had like 3 or 4 plays like that this game. And the thing is, you have to understand, everyone in the NBA, 99% of the people in the NBA that are guards or small forwards are faster than Luka, more athletic than Luka. And in the half court, Luka can negate that, right? In the half court, Luka can bump and poke and prod his way to the lane and the basket, no problem. In the full court, right, it is a hornet's nest. It's organized chaos up and down the floor. That does not suit Luka's needs. And in this game, you just felt the Hornets were just all over Luka the moment he got the ball. Offload that responsibility onto Kyrie. All right, so here's the play where Jaden Hardy's bringing the ball up, right? And Hardy's another good guy I have full faith in him bringing the ball up. and taking a little bit of that pressure off Luka. Luka is off ball. He's going to come up just as I was talking about, and he's going to get the ball, correct? So Lively, a little bit of a miscue here. It looks like perhaps, Lively was running the correct play at first. Williams checks him. He goes to set a pick on Luka, so does Grant. One of my biggest pet peeves is guys who do not rub off a pick as tight as possible. It would have nice if Luka would have quite literally turned that corner and got within the 3-point line. And again, this is the perfect spot where I want Luka to get a pick, is right here, bottom of the logo, middle of the floor. Luka can see it all. And this is a lot of room to have to try and cover Luka, correct? And as you can see, right, being in the middle of the floor, sometimes the spacing makes all the difference. If they want to come double Luka here, this is a lot different than doubling Luka over here at the Smoothie King logo, correct? And being out here, right, a little bit of a hesitation by Zion, a little bit of delayed pick here. Grant holds his ground for just an extra split second and rolls. This guy is still going to try and get to Luka.
Grant Williams screening. Grant Williams.
See, that is much. I know it may not seem like much, right? But this is totally a different feel than two guys who Luka just got the pick here, and now they're attacking. Now they're trying to corral Luka, correct? And look at where Grant Williams is. Exactly where I would put someone in the middle here. You've got to be at the free throw line to the college top of the key, right? High school top of the key. So this is exactly where someone needs to be. It does matter, correct? If Grant Williams is just a little higher, then this guy does not really come out probably as much, correct? And he's probably, whoever the picker is here, is an easy recovery if Grant's a little higher. A little lower, and he's totally guarded, and you can't make a pass to him.
Williams screening.
This is where guys need to be, is right here. Right where Grant's at. They have to be somewhere around the free throw line. It is all about spacing. Now, he's not going to make the shot here, but you have to understand Grant getting the ball here, right? And they're still trying to recover. Zion's still trying to get back. This is a totally different feel. There's many more opportunities you can run out of this than earlier when Luka's getting shaded to the sideline. He tries to split a double team, and there's actually 3 defenders in the area.
Defender heads out to Luka. Luka moves the ball.
Now, again, Grant doesn't make the shot. That's fine. But a little bump here, and Grant's going to try to he's trying to get the foul, doesn't quite get it. But again, this one-on-one shot, if maybe he doesn't get bumped and he just pulls up immediately, I've got faith that Grant will hit that shot.
All to Williams in the 4-on-3 situation, looking great off a bad turnover.
All right, and this is another good one that I liked. Again, Luka is off ball.
By Hardaway, able to not get off Ingram.
And although they set the pick here, a lot of times, another thing that's key is a lot of times when Luka's getting sort of pressured on the sideline on either side, right? He's not really in the middle of the floor. He's running off the pick going to the sideline, right? Which is a little different here when he is he's getting a pick a little bit on the wing, but he's coming back to the middle. Again, someone who's a great half-court player and playmaker, someone like Luka, he needs to be able to see, right? Not in a corner, not kind of out to the wing, not being pressured to the sideline. Middle of the floor, either coming with his dribble or getting the ball and being able to look at what the defense is doing, correct? Again, the middle of the floor is key.
Ingram's leg.
Again, we're getting a pick here at the middle. Lively doesn't quite get to him. But even with that quick of a slip screen, correct, it still is going to open things up. So again, if it had been more of a hard pick, the center here would have been able to get in front of Luka.
Able to knock it off Ingram's leg.
But see, right here, so what I'm saying is let's say Luka had waited a second, right? And Lively was able to get just a full-on pick, right, on Luka's defender, meaning he would have been very set. He would have had to wait a second, right, for Luka to sort of clear and the defender that he's setting a pick for to see what he's going to do. But he really doesn't even set a pick, right? And so he's immediately rolling. Honestly, like the little bit of a slip screen here, this guy is a fish out of water now. This guy is not going to guard Luka on the wing, giving Luka space and coming around the corner. So he is definitely able to get around the big man in this instance, right? The help is going to have to take Lively. You just cannot leave Lively.
Here's Luka with a drive, and he slices through the Pelicans deep.
Luka getting to the middle of the floor on that pick and then deciding what to do in space, running around the big man, again, is much better than him coming off picks, going to the outside and getting pressured on the sideline, and no one's in the middle of the floor in the right space to help him, where Grant was on that last play.
Hardaway leads Dallas with 8, and the Pelicans lead this game in the middle of the second quarter by 13.
See, being in the middle is just, it's a big difference.
Leads Dallas with 8.
Middle of the floor, getting the pick. He's gonna try to help. It's too late.
Lead this game in the middle of the second quarter.
And this is the kind of passes that Luka makes on the regular that he makes look easy.
By 13. Hardaway looking for 3 more. Kick out pass by Luka.
You know, missed it. Unfortunately, you know, Luka can't make the shot for him, and Hardaway will hit that next time.
Tip in attempt by.
This is a good example of what I was talking about, right? In terms of Luka doesn't have to bring the ball up.
When Dallas played a late season game against Indiana,
Pick doesn't quite work out. That's fine. This is exactly what I was talking about, right? Remember all the times Luka runs a pick and roll with the ball in his hand, with his wild dribbling, right? He's used his dribble, and the double team comes off the pick, right? He has much less space and time to read the defense and make a decision.
And then left his.
This is what I was talking about. Let's get Luka the ball here with his dribble. No double team's going to come in terms of immediately, right? Or he can easily see what's coming. Again, I don't like the fact that so many guys always hang out in the opposite corner. I understand there's spacing, but there's got to be a little more to that and being ready for Luka.
Feet and made a jump.
This is exactly what Dirk used to do right here. He's looking at the defense. He's seeing what's out there. Anybody wants to come, he's going to be able to pick it up much easier than getting a pick set and the defenders are just right there on you. And you don't know when they're going to trap and when they're not, right? And they're just going to play the pick and roll straight up.
Pass, swinging it down the baseline to Jaden Hardy for a 3-pointer.
You know, and again, Luka will get a few calls. It's what superstars get, right? And, you know, the rip through with the arms obviously is not foreign to anybody.
Luka is.
But do you understand how much harder that is for a defense to guard?
Big plays of your own.
Luka gets to dictate instead of the defense dictating to him. This is a good example, right? Pick away for Luka. He doesn't have the ball.
In the first half. Jeremiah.
He gets it here with his dribble. He reads the defense. No doubles coming.
Robinson Earl hit a
just attack. One-on-one.
3, and Hawkins was fouled.
Now, yes, he misses. Again, make or miss is sometimes not the point of the film room. It's to understand if we did something right or wrong.
Shooting a 3,
and again, Luka makes that shot, you know, 8 times out of 10, right? So I'm not worried about that, but it's the fact that
within 10.
If Luka's not bringing up the ball, the other teams are not going to pressure us 94 feet. The reason why they pressure Luka is because he's not that fast, right? He's not a Kyrie Irving. And that is an advantage to the defense to wear him out, bump him the whole way down the court, make him work a little harder, a little extra mental thought for him to think about, correct? Instead of letting someone else do that.
Late in the first half, but conceded the last.
So look, Luka's off ball, offside, pick away. He's going to come up.
6 points in the first half. Jeremiah.
Middle of the floor, right? Like this is the most dangerous spot for a defense, I think. Luka, middle of the floor within the 3-point line. This is where I want Luka. This is where I want him to get the ball with his dribble. He is able to see, is a double team coming or do I have an ISO? What's going on? Luka is a high IQ basketball player, right? He does see things before they happen. That's one of his greatest traits.
Robinson Earl hit a 3, and Hawkins was fouled.
And I mean, This is a shot that Luka can get at will if we get him in the right spot, in the right matchup, the right spacing.
Shooting a three.
And you think about how much work Luka had to do on that. That was pretty easy. You just go to the block. By the way, take your time getting to the block. Here comes the pick. Use it. You got the ball at the top of the key, and you took 2-3 dribbles and did a little turnaround. This is what we want Luka doing. This is easy for Luka. This is a lot of pressure off Luka. And again, if they want to start coming to double team Luka at the top of the key, just like Dirk, man, if you came to double Dirk like that, the right pass was already on the way, correct? And Luka will do the same.
And Jonas Valanciunas has his...
That's a great pass by Kyrie. That's just... wasn't even in his hand for a second.
To go to work inside on Lively. And Jonas Valanciunas has his second back.
You know, this is why I'd like to see Kyrie get the first revolution of the play sometimes. You know, Kyrie very easily, right, with his speed and ability. And, you know, this might look like a tough spot for Kyrie, right? Baseline, but you have to understand, one of the things they say is you never let someone get behind you, right? When you do, you have to play 360 instead of playing 180 degrees, right? Everything is in front of you instead of having to worry about people behind you and running baseline, right? Kyrie, just the ability to get here. Now, he's in a bit of a tough spot, but we trust Kyrie to make this right pass. This guy's collapsing. Five's watching him. 17, you know, the center's here, and you have the guy collapsing here off the wing too. Zion has to stay on Lively.
Pelicans.
I mean, this is why, you know, someone like Kyrie, who Luka's a little more of a bully when he gets into the lane. Defenses don't necessarily have to collapse on that as hard. A guy like Kyrie shoots into the lane or shoots down to the baseline, you have to react real quick, right? Or he's just going to get a layup on you or an alley-oop. So, again, the collapse.
Front now by 20.
Tough pass. You know, the guy looked like he had it, but I guess not.
Long pass. Daniels gamble.
And this is a lot of room for
Pelicans
Luka to operate in, right? I mean, this is it's game time. This is just about angles, right? Being on the wing and the sideline here. And again, I don't know why no one's in the middle of the lane, but it's just a harder read. Half of the court is shut off to you, you know? One way or the other is shut off to you. There is no going to the right here, in a way, right?
This is Luka.
You're taking half of the floor away from Luka, who's the best, you know, one of the best half-court players in the league.
Against Dyson Daniels. Steal, Ingram.
I'm also noticing in a lot of these half-court sets, you know, Luka a lot of times is getting the ball out here, right? I want Luka to get the ball with his dribble within the three-point line, right? I think, and wait a second and see what the defense is doing. I would like almost what Dirk used to do, and I know I keep bringing up Dirk, but that's largely what we did, right? You get Dirk the ball in his spot, and wait a second. Just wait a second, see what they're going to do. And instead, I feel like Luka's getting the ball so far away, right, that, you know, the defense knows you're going to have to come to them at least for a dribble or two, correct? But again, I want him to get the ball where he's a little bit more of a threat, right? So again, those are just some small adjustments I would make, right? Let someone else take the ball off Luka. Let them take that pressure. Luka is much more of a half-court player than someone who needs to be bringing the ball up just because, right? The next thing is to get Luka the ball in spots within the three-point line. Again, he can always hit a step back, right? So it'd be nice to get him in spots with his dribble intact, extended elbow, the pin post, top of the key, extended block on the baseline with his dribble, and to wait a second, correct? And if we're going to set picks, one of two things. They need to be in the middle of the floor, and Luka needs to go as north-south as possible, quick getting faded out to the sideline where the double, you're going to entice the double. They get to use the sideline as another defender, or set the pick on more of the wing, but coming back to the middle, correct? We've got to stop letting Luka get pinned up against the sideline or in the half court, and it just makes things 10 times harder for Luka, and it doesn't need to be. Secondly, you know, one thing I thought Lively would do, and he's done so far, but even someone like Powell could flourish in the spot that we had Grant in earlier. I mean, literally in the free throw line. You've got to be there. And so many times I see the lane wide open, top of the keys wide open, and it's all about spacing, right? If no one's in the middle of the floor, that means 2 defenders can guard the 3 guys that are on the opposite wing. That means they can double all day long. There's no penalty. And whatever guy, Dwight Powell, Lively, is sitting on that opposite block, they're easy to account for. Whereas you get the ball in the middle of the floor, if Luka makes that pass, which he will, all of a sudden the defense has to focus, right? All of a sudden the defense has to collapse. That's when the extra pass is made for easy buckets, right? So again, the Mavs didn't shoot very well in this game, especially Luka, right? I'm not so much worried about made and missed shots from a game-to-game basis, right? Luka will produce. Kyrie will produce. Grant will hit open threes, right? Lively is going to get 10 and 10 on a regular basis, it looks like, when he comes back and when he's healthy, right? Maxey can hit open threes. Jones is going to do what he does in being a slasher, and he's been a pretty good three-point shooter too. I got faith in Hardy, right? All these guys in Green, all these guys are good enough role players, I think, to be serviceable playing off of Luka, correct? And with that being said, the extra pass with this team, if we can get the ball to the middle of the floor, I think is huge, right? And I think so much, instead of Luka trying to constantly dribble to the middle of the lane, I think someone needs to be flashing to the middle of the lane, either when he gets doubled, if we can get him in his spots with the ball and make the defense collapse and react, the extra pass will be there. The open 3 will be there, right? Those are just some adjustments we've got to start making. This pick and rolling, double pick and roll at the top of the key, 9 times out of 10 with Luka isn't going to get it done. It's just not. And, you know, it's okay as a baseline, right? Everyone runs the pick and roll as a baseline play. But you've got to do other things off of that, or you've got to be looking for spots and things where, again, your guys are in the best suited situation to let their traits and the things that they are good at thrive and come through. And right now it just seems like Jason Kidd and that staff are just saying, Luka, please win us a game, every game, right? And Luka's going to do what he does, whether he brings the ball up the floor or not. And our job should be to get him the ball in better spots, less pressure, a little more breathing room, right? Again, it's NBA, right? You're never going to be, you know, open all the time or do whatever you want. That doesn't mean you have to put players in spots to make it that's harder on them, correct? And, you know, a lot of it reminds me, you know, I hate to be cliche, a little bit like Jordan, right? Jordan, the best thing, you know, if you guys remember Jordan and Dirk in this specific instance, I think are very comparable. Getting the ball on the elbow, the pin post, the extended block, and waiting for the defense to react or do something, right? One-on-one, Luka is going to win. One-on-one, Dirk is going to get his shot off. One-on-one, Jordan is going to get his shot and where he get to his spot, correct? And the thing is we're putting so much pressure on Luka to bring the ball up, set the pick, beat the double team, you know, then get down into the lane, drive to the basket, make the right play, you know, under tons of pressure, 2-3 guys in his face. It's just not a good recipe for a sustainable offense. And again, just going to summarize it one more time to end the video, because I keep repeating myself, but I think it needs to be repeated because to me it's obvious, right? Someone else needs to bring the ball up more often. We have Kyrie. He's the perfect guy to do it. It seems like a no-brainer. Get Luka in spots within the three-point line with a little bit of room. You know, we don't want him posting up, I don't think, but, you know, 20, 25 feet away from the basket. Take a second, right? Take a second and let him see what's going on and then make a decision. I think it's also much easier for his teammates to make plays and be in the right position with that kind of pace as well. If we're going to pick and roll Luka, it needs to be from the center of the floor. He needs to stay as north-south as possible. That means coming off the pick as sharp as possible, not fanning out to the sideline, right? That's where we get in trouble. The more Luka gets that pick and roll and he fans out to the sideline, that's where he struggles. And anybody would, right? I mean, it's the worst place to be with the ball as an offensive player. And if we are going to, and the other way is if we set picks, if it's not in the middle of the floor, if you do set a pick on the wing, more times than not, he needs to be coming back to the middle. That's essentially the synopsis of the video, right? So I'll do another video here. I think I'll do the Clippers game, which was pretty bad. We lost that one. So I'll do another one here, but I think it's good just to see some of these plays and the spacing and what we're doing, what are other players doing is important, right? If we're going to keep doing this. So that's my film room just for the Pelicans, and I'll do another one here in a few days, but that's the video for now. Guys, let me know. Maybe I'm missing something. If you got something else you see or an idea that the Mavericks should do, particular play or style you want me to look at, let me know. But that's my 2 cents on this Pelicans game, and the Mavs lost big time. They got crushed, and the offense was just out of sync the whole night. I've mentioned this before, like, what is the difference between Jason Kidd and Rick Carlisle, right? And Kidd is a styles coach. He's an overarching styles coach. I think he's a players coach. The players like him. You know, that's great and all, but you see also the kind of offensive production that Carlisle's getting in Indiana, right? Carlisle is an X's and O's guy, a plays guy, a spacing guy, right? He is going to get players in the right spot, and while it might be a little more complex, might be a little more difficult to understand, it means as a player, you might have to put your ego to the side a little bit because you might be the fourth option on a particular play, even if you're the first or second best player, right? But the way that he does it, Carlisle can manufacture offense so much better than Jason Kidd and play to people's strengths, keep them away from their weaknesses, put your players in the right spots, right? And I think that's what we have to be looking for going forward. I don't have faith that Kidd's going to adapt and do this. I had a little bit, but these last few games, it's like he's resorted back to, I'm just going to run the pick and roll with Luka, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it till the cows come home. And that way, if it doesn't work out, you can't blame me. I gave Luka the ball, but there's just such a lack of creativity still with this team. I saw some good wrinkles early on, and I don't know if maybe we shot our wad a little too early, and that was sort of like out the gates. They had a few plays they had in mind at the end of the summer, and they ran them to see, and now it's like we've just resorted back to our tendencies, right? And, it's just going back to hoping one workhorse is going to win us, every game. And it's just, in the NBA, that's not sustainable, right? So that's my video on the Pelicans. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you think I'm right, think I'm wrong, let me know. But I'll see you guys on the next one.